Beautiful. All right, let's just go through this week and see how we go. We'll start off with what the fuck was the Monday this week? It was the 4th. Alrighty. So obviously coming into the week, we had come into this demand to supply. Okay. Um, Make sure you guys just mark out these down the way. This is why I leave most of my drawings from the day before. I'll show you guys as well once we finish that. You can actually have shit on the 4 hour. So if I show you GU quickly, you can have stuff on the 4 hour and then you can hide it on a lower time frame. So I'll show you guys how to do that after. But I suggest you leave all of your supply to demands, things like that, drawn out and kind of go from there. Now, in terms of, like I said, coming into the week on EU, we've had a medium inducement into a mitigation. So we can kind of expect a bit of a pullback. Now, it was very obvious early in the week that this was a complex pullback. We did have this demand to supply that sits in here, which did take liquidity internally here and then actually created a demand to supply in here. So you had demand to supply, demand to supply. All we were looking for is the whole break and retest method, which means price needs to come down and induce 15-minute liquidity to the upside to then make this demand valid. So until price had done that, it was valid to sell through this and treat it as a smart money trap. But obviously, coming into the week, London, which most of us tried to actually sell off the top of this, which I'll walk through. Obviously, we induced that liquidity. We had obviously inducement, pull down, retest, pull down, 15-minute liquidity, gone here, which then made a lower low. So that at that point, this demand now had an inducement into mitigation with the build up. So you had the 15-minute break and retest entry model play out here based on the take of this liquidity to the upside. And then it built trend line obviously above. So that's kind of a way to look at that. So hopefully this week was a lot of reading 15-minute structure importantly. So I'll obviously walk through that as we go. But came into the week, London opened in a shit spot. Realistically, sells were the only way to go. Nothing in here. So us trying to sell here was silly. I'll obviously go in and have a look and see if there is anything. Kind of go from there. Coming into the session, treating this area as a smart money trap, which we can kind of grab. For instance, there to there, smart money trap confirmed. We've now created demand to supply sitting in here. All we're looking for is an inducement inside this area. There's the inducement with new structure. It was actually valid as an entry to take this entry here, targeting this low, which you don't get a 1 to 3. So for me, not really a lot of point taking that. No entry there. That was a valid limit. Just understanding simple what's in control, what's not. This is also Asia lows, but you'd have to be break even the moment it takes a low, which kind of fucks around a bit. As for an entry internally here, you've obviously got internal break with retest here, so you could set something like that. You could also look at taking the 2 leg off of that. So you've got simple structure in terms of break with a retest area. Once you get 1 leg and a second leg in here, so you kind of get inducement into mitigation here with that second leg here, you can look at setting this, just understanding you've got a lot of liquidity build up to the upside, and it can come all the way in this area off of the last inducement. Okay, so shitty area in terms of just understanding risk to reward to this low. It's not worth it, or even the risk to reward to this point. It is a complex pullback, and you've got to understand that. So if you set, you would set it at a 10 pip stop loss. Anyone who says they wouldn't is cooked. 10 pip stop loss to the low. So that's something you could look at taking. Break even at the low, right here. But we obviously get the push up and reaction, which would be a break even. We don't trade off the Asian lows, especially when we haven't had a push up and inducement the other direction. So for me, like I said, not really valid is one you could take here, but the area itself isn't very clean. So letting price kind of build itself up. What we'll do is we'll skip to the next session. I think we'll be getting somewhat close here. Cool. All right. So simple 15-minute structure. The only way we can start to look for sells from an area, yes, we've come into mitigation, inducement into mitigation. We need an inducement of some sort. We've created a supply here that's pushed down with a retest and then pushed down and broken again. So this is a medium inducement to start the rest of that complex pullback. So we can look for a sell in here. Okay. Okay, Josh has left. It's cooked itself for him. So it is valid to look for a trade in here. So what have we got? Obviously, coming into the session, we've got a really, really good inducement into mitigation, break of structure here. That is one you can potentially look at, but for us, we don't take that off of a break of structure. What we then do is come and create equal highs, which is fine. You then get an inducement inside of a mitigation here, which then leads to an internal break. So that's something you could look at taking here. You've got medium inducement, which is this inducement internally here, if you would like to mark that out. Yeah, top. In terms of the entry, it's not the cleanest of entries because obviously this could be an inducement area. So you would be looking at more or less covering that area. So that's kind of your invalidation. And you kind of look for off of that break, setting either that or the inducement area. I would probably go a 6 pip stop loss covering the high and then break even at the take of that next, well, the mitigation of that low. Obviously still in this. So you would go off of internal breaks like that. Once it kind of pushes down, you don't know if there's an inducement or not. So risky entry from Monday in the middle of a complex pullback. Not interested. So you've got internal break, which then leads to that obviously that two leg to the downside. So we need to see. I need to let Josh back in. There we go. We need to see what this does off of here. So if this itself is a smart money trap, this area here. So you've got pull down, which gives an inducement here, which gives the mitigation of this area. We need to know if this is a smart money trap or not. We get pushed down. That's what we wanted to see in order to set that limit. It's then pushed up, and I believe it just takes these highs. So you've got medium inducement, minor inducement. A rule I've got is I won't take a trade realistically without a minor inducement of some sort. So no minor inducement until we get that. Once you get that minor inducement, you can play with that structure now. You've obviously got one leg, two legs straight into demand, so you can't take that either. Confirm smart money trap. You've got a two legs to the upside. You can then set something like that, targeting that weak structure. We'll see if it goes. Still no take of that low. There's your break even point here. So either you move your stops to this internal high here, which is probably what I do. I wouldn't go completely break even. So you've got medium inducement, minor inducement, confirm smart money trap with the movement on here. Set limit either at you've got break and retest idea or you've got two leg idea, either or, depending on your risk tolerance, either or is acceptable. For me, I believe you would set it off of that second point and then you would move your stop halfway, which you would stay in, and then you're out. So half a loss here. Okay, that's if you're trading that complex pullback. Very, very valid half loss. And then we'll kind of see what happens from here. Wouldn't be surprised if it went anyway. Cool. So half loss, and then it runs to TP. I think that's more than valid. Whether you go full loss, half loss, um, whatever you decide to do, and then it takes all night anyway. So trash. But that is a valid half loss, I believe. Okay, so if we look again at the 15-minute where we are, medium inducement, minor inducement, continuing with that complex pullback, you've got build up targets. You've then got obviously after the external break, you've got to be break even or you hold. Okay. So you either hold through the external break, treating this as a break of structure, or you treat this as the take of liquidity and you want to get out. Either or is correct, either or is okay. And then from there, it kind of moves around. So for me, I would take half a loss going back on this price action, which is perfectly fine. We'll kind of see where this goes. You end up with a break even if you hold, and then it runs. Okay, so that is the definition of a complex pullback. Unfortunately, half loss for me, I would say, and then I think I took half a loss. The news, I think, got me out of it anyway. So I reckon the news took me out and I didn't end up holding. Half loss, very, very good structure. Just nothing we can necessarily do in there in terms of holding that. Okay. Cool. Coming into the next day here, we have now medium induced. So trading off of the back of a medium inducement. That's what we're looking for. You've then got break of structure or inducement. We are unsure, but we've built liquidity to the upside. We're waiting for the session to open to give us some kind of direction. Cool. What we've then done is come all the way into demand here. You've then had a very, very small smart money trap reaction off of this. So this entire area is an area of smart money trap, like this entire leg. If you go on the 5 minute here, the entire point is that there's no liquidity in here. You're trading off the back of a medium inducement. It's worth holding. So I believe this is where Matt got break even, and so did I. So off of this, you've got pull down, take of liquidity, smart money trap confirmed, covering that low. You should then be holding to the take of that high, given that it is in a complex pullback. It's on the 15 minute. Medium inducement. Okay, so with structure, so these are my current rules, and I'll obviously go through this in the Discord anyway, is away from a medium inducement, 1 to 3 minimum. First trade of the week is just a 1 to 3. If it's with the external structure cycle, I will actually partial a 1 to 3 now and then target the high. So 1 to 3 and then targeting the high makes a lot of sense here. So we'll obviously see what it does. If you're going to take smart money trap entries like this and have that as a break even, you're better off to wait for the next move. So once you get that move here, if you're go break even, your next entry is this. So I took both entries. So I took this one and this entry. Okay, so both these entries are valid. And all you're doing is now you've got area of demand that's held. You've then got push and retest and push. So you're covered by inducement, 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 break, confirm smart money trap. So the likelihood of taking inducement and inducement and coming all the way around here is so slim before it reaches this high. So this was the second entry I took. So I took break even on the first entry, and then this is the second entry I took, in which you should have targeted a 1 to 3, like I said, off the back of a medium inducement. Break even again. Okay, so they're the two break evens I took. Okay. I think they're both valid. You can cover commissions on both, and it's just unfortunate. Okay, but medium inducement, trading into that, more than valid. And I believe you've now had the mitigation of this next point, minor inducement. This was the A plus entry. So this is why sticking to your rules is so important. So you've got break even into a second break even, or just break even on one of them. Either or is fine. You've now got medium inducement, minor inducement. You've now got liquidity build up, and you've also got weak supply sitting here now. This is the entry here. Okay, so you've got react off this point. No entry necessarily in here because it's too close to the high. So break of structure. You then come all the way down into this area of demand. Internal breaks, you've got one leg, two leg, which I believe is where you set the limit from memory, or is the next one here. That's better. So you've got this is, I think I took a break even here as well, I reckon. Oh no, it's the next one. So I believe EU was GU was the entry, I believe. There's a reason I didn't take GU. I think is Matt still here? He's not, is he? I reckon he took an entry on GU. So minor inducement, obviously pull down, very, very shitty break of structure. Taking this smart money entry off of this into this break here isn't worth it, given that this is such a shitty break of structure. Okay. So then what you're looking for is inducement, inducement, break. You're looking for a break of inducement into a two leg into demand. So you're looking for an inducement into demand, which we don't get here, which is where the build up happened. When I walk through GU, there's actually a very valid entry, which is in the same spot, funnily enough. Coming down, getting closer to the end of the session, I believe it was still worth watching this because you've got the complete structure cycle at play here. We've now induced further into this point here, and I believe this is where possibly the entry is. So you've got here, internal break. You could have actually tried to enter off of this internal break here. So we've got pullback, which then leads to inducement and push, break and retest. We're not interested in small structure like that. Pull down into the mitigation, which then leads to smart money trap reaction. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of pushing down, inducing into the mitigation to push. So you could have looked at setting at that. The entry itself didn't actually get tagged in, which is where you'd be looking at getting at, and then you'd be break even now, which I believe it kind of runs a little bit and then comes back. Or maybe this runs all the way up. Like that. So that would have been another break even. Valid again, like I said, this week was the week of break evens for me. I think I took 7 break evens, all covering commission, which is a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. So that's a valid entry. Later in the session, I won't keep that on there for that. We'll go to let that play. Let it play. 1400 here. So back to the 15-minute. What are we working with? We've obviously got demand, supply to demand that's sitting here. We have mitigated this area here. We're still struggling to obviously push through this. It has showed that complex pullback. It has also given us our build-up target and our break and retest entry, treating this as a demand. So we can still trade from here. Coming into New York, very, very clear spot of where we're trying to trade into. This is the next recent supply that obviously pushed through that low. In terms of a seller's model here, we've got a seller's model and a buyer's model. So you can sell from here given you've got break, retest, and push, but you can also look to buy to this given you've got minor inducement, break of structure, looking to take this to the upside. So this is where it was basically just chop side to side, and we'll kind of see if there was an entry valid in here. So I believe I actually took an entry here, had minor inducement that led to a break. Now I want to find out if this is a smart money trap. We're still in this area here. So this area being more or less retest of this break. We're expecting this to be a smart money trap here, like that. So I guess our invalidation is the break of this high. What we then had is pull down one, push up into an inducement. So you had an inducement here into the mitigation of the demand that pushed. Clear structure cycle, inducement demand inside. So inducement demand, inside inducement demand, inside inducement demand. Okay. The entry, simply break, understanding that as it pushes up some break here is your invalidation. So your entry could be off of the take of this, like that, targeting that high. I think news comes out, so I'm not sure when news comes out exactly. So for me, my entry, obviously, I don't want to trade before the session. We had break, push up, inducement low. So let me walk through this very slowly. Inducement demand, inducement demand that leads to a break. That's an internal break that pushes us into a smart money trap area. We then push down one leg, two leg, showing that this is a smart money trap. We can at least expect this will be a smart money trap. What do we get? Inducement demand again. That then leads to a break of structure, which is a very quick break of structure, giving intent. And all you're looking at is trading off of either that or that there, targeting the high. I know news comes out, so we'll obviously see how this goes, but we were out before news. So that's the entry there, and I believe that's the entry I took. Break even, push into this point where we can look now look for sells. You've got medium inducement because that is retest. So we know medium inducement is retest. Medium inducement into mitigation. You've got push up, push to the upside. You've then got one leg, two leg, valid limit. Here, you get tagged in as news is coming out. So either entry is valid, and this is why. So I caught this break even, I believe, and then didn't take the sell because it was too close to news, and then news pushes it up. So, and then it kind of fucks around. Ultimate chop, and the buys end up playing out. Okay, so simple structure cycle entry. I'm not going to hold through news, especially when an invalidation has been hit, and then we push up to the upside. No stress, Dean. Too easy. So complex pullback into extreme demand. We've then got a sell model play out, and we've got an inducement here to protect us for a buy. Push up and mitigation here. You can look for a sell, but we're in the buy. News comes out. In this, you would be targeting obviously the take of high and then the structure cycle playing out. And the structure cycle pushes up and obviously ends up playing out just very, very slowly. So yeah. All right, cool. So next day. So this one's another break even. What we'll do is we'll mark this out as we go. So valid entry here. I click and do valid area, valid entry, half loss. I believe this one's here. Valid area, valid entry, break even. And this is just where applying the same concept over and over again, you would have had a good week this week. And then we've got valid area, valid entry, break even. Okay, so for the first day, Monday, London, absolutely nothing unless you want to try and catch the complex pullback, which you would end up in a break even anyway. You've then got New York, which has a medium inducement trading towards the build up, which is a half a loss or a break even, depending on how aggressive you are. You've then got this entry here, which is a break even, which myself and Matt took. You've then got this entry here, which I took, which was pre-news, which was a break even as well. And then we're obviously pushing up and completing this structure cycle. Okay. So now because all of these highs have not broken through this point, um, we can now push and trade and treat this as a smart money trap area. Okay, it's against the structure cycle, it's against momentum, it's against every time frame. And if you guys have done your 4 hour analysis correctly this week, you would understand that we're only looking for buys. Major inducement, clear break, nothing in here on the 4 hour. Where we're heading is this point here. Okay, so the structure cycle on a high time frame indicates a complex pullback to the upside. This also looks like a complex pullback, so it's more or less actually likely we come and take the high. Okay, so you've got every time frame that lines up internally pushing this to the upside, and then we kind of go from there. So coming into this, we know that this won't hold given the current context. You've then got a two leg out of this, which then leads to a push to the upside, and then in here, like I said, we're targeting this high. You can treat this as a medium inducement and this as a medium inducement as they're both supplies that broke structure, but they're less important because they didn't break external structure. They've stayed inside our current 15-minute range. Okay. Awesome. So coming into here, like I said, this area has been proven to be a smart money trap. Two leg, quick reaction. This point is going to get absolutely destroyed. So we're targeting this. You've then got obviously push into this area here, take of Asian highs. What do we expect off Asian highs? Shit reaction to the downside, especially against momentum, to build up more sellers. As we know, we don't trade off for Asian highs or Asian lows. We're then in this point, which obviously is not going to hold given the current context. I mean, this is a 1 minute point inside of a 15-minute leg against structure. We then have inducement into the mitigation of this area, and we'll see if anything kind of presents itself. Okay. Coming into, looks like news has kind of pushed this in here, but you've got that push into mitigation, which does give you a small inducement. You've then got break, which we're not going to trade anything off of. You got break, which then treats this area as a smart money trap, but there's just nothing internally to work with here. Price breaks through, nothing to work with, absolutely nothing. Clear inducement, which is quite clean, straight into the mitigation of this area. So we've now got a two leg out of this area as well. Inducement demand inside inducement demand. Taken out this structure, and like I said, into this really good demand. Internal break of structure. Expecting this to be a smart money trap. Push into structure. Nothing to work with yet. Still nothing to work with. And she gone. And it's not working. My internet's died. And it's back. Cool. Which then leads to obviously the take of that high, like that. Okay, so nothing we can do within there, but all should have been looking for buyers, sells are traps, and kind of that's the go there. Now, in terms of an entry here, you have got a break and then a second break, but the limit itself was actually too large. So you'd have to have that limit there, break even at the take of those highs, and then you would be targeting this external point here, which is only a 1 to 2. Okay, so a valid limit to take in terms of just structure, but you've got news coming out here. It's late in the session, and it's such a big stop loss, and the risk to reward is unlikely to hit. So nothing to work with there. And then on the 15-minute, beautiful. Okay, structure cycle play out. Thanks for coming. No complaints there. So what I'll do is here. Okay, valid area, no entry, unfortunately. We then had coming into New York, if it wants to do its thing. Bullish as fuck. So we're in the middle of a random smart money trap. We've missed the big move. We're bullish. We need a retracement in order to take anything in the opposite direction. Nothing to work with. No trades for me, I believe, at that time. And I think it tapped into the smallest point and just pushed off. Okay. Coming into the next day, high time frame break and retest. Take of that retest into an area of supply that obviously pushed through. But I don't think there's an entry. Okay, trading on the higher time frame like this, we know not to do. Two leg into a push, into a melt, nothing there to work with. Okay, so when you miss the move, wait for more structure. Okay, price doing its thing, nothing to work with here. We've always had push and break. We don't know if we're going to continue to down to a lower point. Now, this is where the higher time frame context comes in. 4 hour, we know we're heading up further. We're in the middle of an imbalance. It's unlikely to give us a huge reaction here, so we're going to continue to buy. We look here, we've got a break and retest area here of an external structure. This didn't take liquidity, so there was no two leg to the downside that took liquidity. This should be a smart money trap. If that is the case, we've also taken liquidity. We're expecting this to induce something to then come lower, take out this point, and then continue higher. Okay, that's the application of those high time frame points. None of these hold any weight. This is the only one that holds weight, and it's just disrespected it entirely. So we're kind of looking, to get on the back of that. So that's where the higher time frame context comes in. In terms of where we want to trade, divergence played a big role because we actually did stay in this area here and then sell down a little bit. I think that's where Matt took his entry. But more or less, this did mitigate this area. And then this did mitigate this area, and it did take a little bit of liquidity. So this is a valid supply, but divergence held a big amount in that. So we'll obviously pay price, and we'll have a little look-see when it gets there, how we can apply it on its own. Okay, really good push up. Inducement into mitigation. We are following our outlook. This should have been your outlook coming into the day to then come and take this low and continue with the new bearish complex pullback after taking liquidity, because this point should not hold. Break, which is great. Beautiful. Okay. So we're expecting this area to be a smart money trap. In order to do that, we need to induce something of some type of magnitude. Okay. At the moment, none of this actually holds any weight, and this holds more weight than that. So we're looking for a certain point where we can induce enough buyers that we can look to sell. Coming into the session, we pushed into this area, and this is, like I said, where that divergence played a huge role. I believe this is where Matt got in. So complex pullback to the upside, clear, move to the downside. This point did take liquidity. It did actually take internal 1 minute retest liquidity here, and then create a lower low. You then had push, retest, pull up, and pull down. So we're all expecting it to take this high. GU took its high while EU respected. Matt noticed this perfectly. You then had internal break. In terms, if this point is going to hold, you've got the last inducement being this point here, which led to the break. So if this is going to hold, it should do this. Okay. If it's not going to hold, it'll do this. Okay. It'll treat this as an internal break. The weak low will then become this low here. Okay. Inducement, inducement. This inducement had led to that. So that to that will just equal itself out. And this point induced liquidity. This point did not. Okay. So this is where just the inducement into mitigation holds weight. We're trading away from the inducement until it tells us otherwise. It's showing that this possibly won't respect this inducement. It's building up trend line. It's also reacting from the last inducement point that created and broke a structure. This didn't do anything. This didn't do anything. Okay, so that's our last inducement area. So it's literally this versus this as inducement areas. Okay, so we're trying to work out, is this a smart money trap or is this a smart money trap? Matt recognized that the break of that obviously was that being confirmed, which is really, really clean. So I imagine you had something like that, maybe like a 5.5. And then obviously you can just target the weak low. Okay. Now you can look to hold further. It is definitely valid to continue to hold, but we are in a complex pullback and we aren't trading from a medium inducement. So these are the things that you need to take into consideration. You're against the structure cycle, so secure partials quicker or secure profits quicker. And we're not trading from a medium inducement for the session. So where's the next medium inducement? Well, this could be treated as the medium inducement. This mitigation did more than this area so far. So this necessarily can still hold. You're now getting an inducement into a mitigation to possibly push. That entry there was very, very clean. I don't know where it kind of runs from there. Then it kind of pushes back up. Messing about, messing about. Okay, cool. This is where I was looking to buy. Like I said, we've now had an inducement into the mitigation. We are bullish. Okay. We have pushed and broken this high, and we have pushed and broken this high. So we've pushed through two bits of structural point, and we haven't confirmed our bearish retracement until we've taken 15-minute liquidity and made a new lower low. Okay. We're now at a discount in price at the bottom of a bearish leg that hasn't been confirmed yet. So in order for me to target this low, I now need to take something of equivalent magnitude. What we've kind of got here is push equal highs into a smart money trap area because we wanted this taken. So this could be a smart money trap. What's it's done? Quick reaction, building up liquidity at this point. This is the next supply point that's broken an important low. That's just a more recent low. This is external structure, which broke through this. So the next low we target is this one here, which we haven't broken through. So everything in between here and here is equal. Okay. This area was responsible for a break that pushed through external liquidity to the left. This is just responsible for internal structure. This is responsible for internal structure. This point did more than this area. And we're bullish. Okay. No medium inducement for the session, which means all we're doing is building up minor liquidity over and over again. Okay. We then had inducement into the mitigation. So we've got inducement into a mitigation, into inducement into a mitigation. Like I said, we're bullish. 4 hour knows we're bullish. Coming into the session, this is where 1 minute structure is kind of off its tits. Break, retest, and push. We then reacted off of this point here. I'm looking for confirmation that this point won't hold. What do we get? That really slow retracement, clear inducement, really quick push up. Okay, so this is where I took an entry. Inducement here. What I need is a minor inducement on open in the timing. There's my minor inducement that confirms this is a smart money trap. That is where the entry should have been. I waited and held a little bit longer. So the entry itself should have been that entry there, which you would then target that high, obviously, which is a 1 to 5, and you wouldn't get stopped out at break even. My entry was break. I waited for some type of extra protected liquidity and then set my limit. So my entry was that, and I covered that low for a 1 to 3 to the high. It then confirmed that this was a smart money trap. Once I've taken this liquidity, I'm not going to let my ego hold on to it. So just because I know that this is a smart money point, I've now hit my invalidation where I go break even. It pipped me out at break even and then pushed 1 to 3 and pushed to the upside, which is where it kind of goes. Okay. I then took a half risk entry again. So same structure. It's proving that this is a smart money trap. I've got minor inducement, which is a 2 leg into that internal break here. I need to prove that this is a smart money trap. There's my 2 leg to the downside. So when I get my break to the upside here, I had that set. Okay. Obviously targeting the daily cycle in terms of Asia highs. But what happens is you get the push and then it comes back down. So half risked it because the only medium inducement we can have is this one. Okay, sucks to suck, but it is what it is. It's the next inducement of that. What was the entry model? Are you setting? Okay, so basically, Alistair, I'm not trading an entry model as such, and this is something I've been teaching Matt and Cal specifically, and Josh has been playing around with it quite nicely as well. Is we're trading inducements that then show points won't hold. So I'm trading away from inducements based on momentum. And all I'm looking for is two inducements that then leads into a point of a break of structure or that leads into a point of a smart money trap. So I have an invalidation. So inducement one that then leads to an inducement two. On the second inducement, it's inducing the opposite direction. So it's giving me an inducement low, showing me that this point won't hold. Current structure cycle is bullish internally. I'm trading the idea that this smart money trap won't hold and basically get a quick reaction. So I'm not trading as in break of structure or anything. This is technically the internal break of structure. I'm trading the second inducement, trading towards the next inducement. Okay. The confirmations in terms of break of structure, break and retest, two leg, things like that. That is the what I would call like the basic reading of price action. This is understanding why those things occur. So, what is a break of structure? A break of structure is an inducement. But if you would like to look at it simply, it's just a break of structure. No, never market inducement. So, market entry. All I'm doing is setting the limit off of the internal break. So, I'm setting the limit on the idea, and this is how structure works. So what you do is you get inducement, you then get a second inducement, which builds up liquidity. And I can explain this. Well, I can explain this after we go through this call if you like. What then happens is you push out, you then mitigate an area of demand, for example, and then you push out. So I'm trading the mitigation rather than the break, if that makes sense. So, and this is a constant pattern you'll see even here. You've got inducement, push up, mitigation of demand, push out. And the push out is the impulse. So it is 1 minute structure cycle on a lower time frame. I'm trading the impulse. So the impulse is a mitigation and go. So it always pulls back and then kind of pushes out, which is push here, mitigation, push out. And that's why you'll see a lot of my entries run very quickly away from my entry, which is why this week I could take, 7 break evens and cover commissions on every single one. So that's kind of the idea behind that. And that'll just get easier as you kind of watch. But you've got to work out if you would rather trade the inducements of things or if you would rather trade breaks of structure. Okay. So this entry here, break even, unfortunately, had taken the medium inducement, and then that was kind of the end of the week. Okay. So EU was more or less boring. um, so in terms of entries, like I said, I took heaps of break evens this week. I can upload my data whenever. But that was kind of my week. Nothing there, nothing up here because we're at the higher time frame, no 15-minute structure. Nothing here. We then had this area here, which is where Matt got in. This was really reliant on divergence, so very, very hard entry. Um, very, very, very hard entry to the point where if you were watching this pair on its own, so if you were backtesting and watching EU on its own, you wouldn't take this. Very, very reliant heavily on the inducement. And I'll show you the G entry I took. And then I believe this one here is very, very valid. I'm not going to worry about the second one because, like I said, they were both break even anyway. And that does hit TP. It just takes me out of break even first, unfortunately. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, Alistair. G is a lot easier to read this week with it, so I'll delete that.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Cheers.
No, beautiful. No worries. No worries. It'll get a lot easier as you go. And a lot of the backtesting videos, you kind of see me do that. So when I upload the next one, that'll make a lot of sense. It's just a different approach rather than trading confirmations. Um, Once you get really good at understanding the higher time frame and where direction is, this type of entry, you're trading into the generation of liquidity. So I can actually quickly walk through it now. So when you get obviously inducement, this induces liquidity. So the next inducement here creates more liquidity and generates more liquidity and generates more liquidity. So this move here, which pulls down here, generates the last liquidity, which is why you get the impulse. That's based on how it works. Is you get inducement, which induces liquidity, inducement, which induces liquidity. Your mitigation is the reversal model of the inducement of liquidity. And you've got, if I were to walk through the amount of liquidity you get built up in this, you get, so if I do that, so that's the entry there. You got support and resistance, trend line, smart money trader, trend line, support and resistance, higher time frame, and then you normally get that, which is break and read it, break and retest traders, etc. So it will make sense the more I kind of point it out. So this week on EU, valid entry, half loss, break even. You will not hold full through that. There's just no way. You'd have to hold for 24 hours. So good luck to you. This one, valid break even, medium inducement of a low, build up to the upside. The only thing I would kind of say is shit about this is the lack of build up initially. So if you look at the difference between this and this, look at the difference in build up. You've got no initial target. Um, Something to take note of. So when you enter a trade, when you're looking to trade, jump between the 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute. You've got plenty of time. Have a look at the initial build up. That'll kind of give a bit more reason is are we going lower in this demand or are we not? Well, is there a build up? Probably we are. Okay. So not a lot of build up there. So valid break even to take. And I think you took that as well, Matt. Just unfortunate. And then this one, obviously, close to news. You guys won't trade anyway. But I believe you guys should still be watching. Um, Valid area, just no entry. Structure cycle, simple structure cycle entry. Smart money trap confirmed with the two leg inducement push up. You've also got break and retest internally, equal high build up, trend line, etc. Simple structure cycle. Once you get up high here, we're not interested. Stay the hell out. You'll only learn that the hard way. We've then obviously got push down. This is a very, very hard entry, this one of Matt's. Divergence related. I think GU, the entry was easier, but I'll show you why EU. Like EU is better because we've already confirmed characteristics in terms of bigger retracement. We've got internal liquidity take, um, confirmations to the downside, haven't pushed through this imbalance, things like that. So a lot better on EU in terms of space to take a trade. And then you've obviously got this buy, initial build up, structure cycle, simple structural cycle in terms of possible internal break. We've had one break to the downside. More or less, we're probably going to take that high out. In order to sell, we need that and then that, and it'll be slow. Okay. If that makes sense. So break even, Matt's difficult as fuck entry on steroids. That's valid. The rest are break even. So I actually don't see a lot of wins on E this week. Okay. Is there any questions at all with that? Good to go. Fucking sweet. All right. Now GU. Now, I think GU this week was a lot cleaner. Cool. All right. Coming in on Monday. So 4 hourly. Mitigation of last point while EU major induced. Very, very clear complex pullback. So you should have noticed coming into the week, break with retest. If we push through this, which we should be targeting, it makes sense to target to either fall off like this or to push up. Okay? Very, very clear. Make sure you analyze your 4 hour and where we're heading just for direction. Okay? Clear inducement, push up. All we're looking for is lower time frame confirmations that that's happening, which we got with the news. Clear break. Very, very clear break. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's just disregarded the shit out of structure. Off of that, we had demand to supply, which created and pushed to this low. You then had this demand to supply, which we did internally induce here. Very, very clean. So you've got the break of this high was caused by this and this. You've also got medium inducements, very small medium inducements internally in here to open the week, and we're bullish. Okay. Monday, shit spot to open. Nothing we can do there. Looking at the 15 minute, makes sense to just sit out. I think I tried to sell through it. I think it was a break even. I found out very quickly that it was a break even. Um, Looking at this now, don't bother. Okay, we haven't got enough bearish structure here. In order to look for sells, we needed some type of 15 minute inducement, which there is none here. So when you have a straight runs like this, just stay the fuck out. Okay, it's very, very quite like straightforward and simple. Just stay out. It's not worth the hassle. Push and break. New York. I will look here because this is a very, very good medium inducement or major inducement, however you look at it. Very, very clean. And I'll kind of walk through and have a look. Cool. Inducement here, very, very obvious fall off, nothing to work with in here. We're waiting for price to tell us that it's continuing. When you get a fall off like that, in order to trade this sell off, you need a lot more. There's just no internal structure to work with here. This didn't like our structure is literally still from here to here. Like you can't work with anything here. There's no internal break. Like, what are you going to use as an internal break? I couldn't even tell you. I don't know, maybe that, maybe if you're lucky. We're at the higher high of a range, and we can't read structure correctly. Okay, so just sit the hell out. Medium inducement, minor inducement. Now looking for a trade. We've now got structure, complete push up. Nothing we can work with. Break of structure. Good luck getting in a trade, and it's too late. Okay. Valid area to look through, just nothing to work with. That was your only trade for the week, yeah. Looking back at that, does it feel forced? Like now, obviously,
It doesn't feel forced, but it doesn't look like a great area.
no, exactly right. So therefore, it's forced.
Righto.
It's
Nice.
like it's something I. It's a. I'm pretty sure I took a break even here as well. Like this is. I'm doing the same shit. So I took a break even in here. It's just not worth it. Look where structure is. When you see the nicer trades that I'll walk through, this is just not worth it. Okay.
Because
Yeah,
it
I took
took
a
a
break even
it
there as well.
You took a
it
break
took an
even as well.
earlier
Yeah.
like high. That's why I was interested.
Mm-hmm.
It took some previous structure,
Mm-hmm.
like it pipped that liquidity. So
Yep.
normally,
You
you
get a
get some
reaction.
reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. But remember, we're against the structure cycle.
Yeah.
When you take external structure, you want it to be with the structure cycle. Okay. If not, you need a minor inducement and you need to be able to read a break of structure without second guessing it. You can kind of be a little bit cheeky with it and not really give a fuck in terms of this is a concrete confirmation when it's with structure because you can just get break even. Whereas this, like fuck, this thing was just fighting breaking up like for ages. And then obviously minor inducement too late, can't do anything with that. So like I said, I took a break even too. These are things we just got to learn. And the only way to do it is just see this every week and be like, dude, stop. Like it's literally that simple. Okay. Coming to the session, minor inducement, sorry, medium inducement. And if you look why it's medium inducement, obviously that's the high break. When you get a high break, mark out all the points that take liquidity that end up in a break. Okay. Here, which mitigated here, which means this entire area. So you coming into this session, you should have had that marked out. Okay. We've taken medium and minor liquidity. This is more likely a smart money trap, which it proved to be. Push down, medium inducement, look to trade off the back of that medium inducement. Now, you can look to trade the opposite way through that point. That is definitely a valid thing to do, but no entry, quite obviously. Okay, very, very simply, no entry. Okay, we've then got the structure cycle. So trade away from the medium inducement. This is with momentum, and you've got daily cycle. So this is where you can look to be somewhat aggressive and kind of fuck some shit around in terms of trying to get an entry. Okay, is there an entry? I don't see one. Okay, which is why I kind of messed about. Um, you can like there's just nothing for me in here. That's my structure. Yes, that's a minor inducement, so it's a last inducement, but it doesn't lead to a high take. Yeah, so it's not for me. Okay, you're pushing it. You are pushing it. But you should be watching because it's a medium inducement with momentum, with current structure cycle, etc., etc. Coming into this session, I might have actually taken GU and not EU. This does. Just let it play out so I can see some fucking structure. Okay, so we've obviously got inducement area. Okay, what I'm looking for is for this to be proven as a smart money trap. That is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for an entry confirmation here. I'm looking at to tell me that there is more liquidity here that it's targeting and it's trading away from this area. So that's what I want. So I've got inducement demand, inducement demand. And this is where on the 5 minute, it's actually quite clean. Okay. Is this a smart money trap? Let's find out. Push up, one leg, two leg, quick internal break. So this for us, knowing the pattern of how structure works, should be enough. This is enough to set a limit. You don't actually need to go down to the 1 minute. It has proven to me, trading away from a medium inducement, that this won't now hold. My invalidation is the take of the high or is a break of structure internally. Okay. What do we know off of this entry model? You get inducement, internal break, quick internal break, mitigation, push out. If you don't get the push out, it's not going. So go break even. Okay. So that was enough for me on the 5 minute. I then went down to the 1 minute and looked for proof that this area was a smart money trap in terms of the smaller area. Reacting out of here, you had one push, two push, internal break. So for me, this is now my last inducement. And what have I got? Inducement demand, inducement demand, inducement demand. I'm now covered by three, away from a medium inducement with the current structure cycle, Asia high targets. Daily cycle, medium inducement, structure cycle, inducement demands, following structure. My entry was, I want to say, I don't know where my entry was. It was early, wherever the fuck it was. I reckon, yes. So, inducement demand, break of structure. I need proof that this is a smart money trap. Push down, which is an inducement of internal break and retest, into the area of demand. So I need to know if it's going to respect this inducement. Push into this area. What do I get? One leg, two leg, clear inducement into my demand. So what have I got now? Another inducement demand. And this is the minor inducement that I needed on open. I then waited for an internal break of structure where I set my limit, targeting Asia highs. It pushed up and made quite equal highs, pushed all the way down, stopped me out of break even, pushed down, and I think news took it up. It just messes about for a bit. Cool. Is what it is. My break even was minor inducement because I'm trading minor inducements now. So I'm trading structure, momentum away from a medium inducement, and I'm trading minor inducements. So when I get a minor inducement in the other direction, I'm break even. I can't hold through minor inducements. I've got to make sure that I'm getting these minor inducements and being very, very strict with my entries. Okay? So unfortunately, nothing we can work with there. But what do you get in the opposite direction? Minor inducement, minor inducement, one leg, two leg after that minor inducement, internal break, gone. You get the same entry model again with this current structure. Okay, it's just after news, post news, just nothing we can fucking do, unfortunately. Um, that's the kind of the area of what happened. Okay, like I said, break even for me. I was quite happy with it. Coming into the next day. Beautiful. All right, so this is the what I would say the A plus trade for the last 30 days. This fits basically every entry model we have. So medium inducement into mitigation here. We then had obviously the minor inducements, which I went through just then. So this is my last inducement area that broke through a 15-minute high. Because the 15-minute high, we've got break, retest, and push. We've then broken the last 15-minute high, continuing with the current structure cycle. This is a higher high, so it's less, we're not expecting it to hold. In order for us to see it not to hold, we need to induce in the other direction, just like I was explaining on the 1 minute. We get a two leg of a complex pullback that induces liquidity to the downside. So we now have inducement into mitigation to the downside of a mitigation, continuing with our current structure cycle. What does this do? Gives us a build up. You either target here or target here. Now the entry itself, if we jump down to the 1 minute. Okay, so nothing in terms of in London opened up as an entry here. We had a break. We had an inducement that led to a break, but came into supply and pushed down. Okay, so if you were going to enter this, which I think some of us did because I took a break even here too, um, I'm not surprised looking back at this, wait for the medium inducement, simply what I explained on the 15-minute. But if you were to trying to take a trade out of this demand, which led to nothing, you're going to expect it's not going to give a big response, obviously. Plus, you've got taking a trade off the Asia lows, which is a no-no. So this just shouldn't be looked at. Taking Asia lows is the only thing we've done here, and we haven't completed our two-leg inducement to the downside yet. Okay, medium inducement, trading away from medium inducement. What do we get? Internal break of structure. Okay, so this is where, Alistair, you can look at taking the two confirmations. Like this is fine. This is if you're trading the two confirmations and you don't take this trade, there's got to be a good reason why, because there's two confirmations. Like this is a very, very obvious entry. You've got medium inducement, internal break of structure, internal break of structure. Your limit is then set off of the next imbalance, which finishes here. And my rule on two breaks of structure is only to cover the second break. Okay. Especially if there's an inducement, which I'll walk through in a second. So you'd have a 6.8 pip stop loss. You're obviously break even at the next high, and then you're targeting the next weak external 15-minute structure. Medium inducement to medium inducement. When it's with momentum, you need to hold for longer. Okay? Simple structure there. You would stay in this, and this would be the entry. So if you trade the confirmation based entry, you take a 1 to 3.8. You can even look at targeting external structure as it's been shown that it won't hold based off of this reaction. What have we got? Two leg to the downside that leads to an inducement into a mitigation of an area, then an inducement into a mitigation. We've then got a quick reaction, which now shows that this area here is a smart money trap. So when price sits about here, and let's say your take profit is here, because it's a quick reaction that you've noticed, you now know it is a smart money trap, which the chance of this pushing price all the way down to your low and not taking this high becomes so slim. Okay, so if you take the two entry confirmation here, you target the structure cycle for a 1 to 6. Okay, so medium inducement, very, very clean medium inducement, two breaks of structure, set limit. Thanks for coming. Okay, in terms of the inducement entry, which is what I would rather take. Break, I now can't do anything. So I've got inducement low and inducement high. Nothing I can work with. I now need to see an inducement low that brings in sellers here. And then my break even is the take of that high. What do we get? One leg, two leg, inducement into mitigation. So it's by no chance that this inducement, which is a quick move, mitigates my last 1 minute point. So what have I got? Inducement demand and inducement demand. The entry model itself relies on taking the internal structure here, because if price is bearish, it'll do this. Price wasn't. We've got a quick reaction which shows this is a smart money trap, which in turn shows that this is weak structure because we're going against a medium inducement. So this shouldn't hold either. On a statistic basis, it won't hold. Matt took this as well with a little bit smaller of a stop loss. Very, very clean. Break even at this high. I didn't go break even at this high because I had one break, two break. I had multiple entry models playing out here. You can hold. Okay, so I didn't hold until it hit my next invalidation, which was this supply. But even then, holding to the high makes so much sense. Okay, now me and Matt went full retarded and decided to take full take profit at a 1 to 3, which is fine. But this entry, you have medium inducement, weak high, structure cycle, timing, daily cycle, external high targets, you name it, we've got it. So this should have been taken as a 1 to 5.5 or partials at 1 to 3, targeting the external high. Okay? Or partials at 1 to 3, full at 1 to 5. The point that Matt and I secured less than 4% in this trade is not a good thing. You should have at least secured 4%, and then we can kind of move over. So this is what I would call an A plus entry on every sense of the word. You have so many confirmations here, and your break even is so far away. Okay, so very, very clean entry here. And then from there, obviously, it runs. Okay. Coming into New York, we know that this is a smart money trap. It's already been confirmed by this current structure move. All we're looking for is an inducement low, which we get, and then an entry. Cow in. Okay. So inducement low, break, second break. Because there was no inducements here, I wasn't willing to be aggressive here. So if this had done and pushed up, I would have taken an aggressive limit here. But we didn't have the second inducement. So for me, there's no second inducement here. If you trade based on two confirmations, you could look at taking this. There's no medium inducement, but we're trading away from quote unquote the inducement of the day. Okay. This has been proven to be a smart money trap. We're looking for this to give a smart money trap reaction. So because I didn't have my inducement here, I need this to prove that sellers aren't getting in control here. So what I'm looking for is an inducement low. What do we have? Our inducement low that leads to this point here. It then comes straight into supply. Okay, so I'm in a supply, inducing in a supply. I'm not going to take that. What we then have is one leg, two leg, inducement into mitigation of area. which means the limit for my current entry would be the take of this high, which it does do that eventually. You could also look in here. If this had taken this low and pushed up, you could take an internal entry here, but no, there's no internal inducement. So I've got inducement, inducement. I can't now take anything. Like it hasn't shown that this inducement has led to anything. Break, your limit would be set based off of the internal break, which is this one here. So you would set, I believe it's that, targeting this low because it's not going to come any further. And you'd be targeting a high time frame point. Reason I didn't take it, it's so close to that external high. The moment it takes this external high, you break even, which means you copper break even and then it runs. And you want to fucking stab someone. So when it's that high, you won't see me take a trade. Okay, but valid entry, just valid area, just no entry. Okay. So clean, just no, not for us. Push up, mitigating, okay, higher time frame. If we looked at that 4 hour from before, this point won't hold. We're actually targeting this high. This point did take liquidity, so you're expecting a response of some sort. Until it gives us bearish confirmations, we can't sell. Okay. Price to come into the day, pushes down, pushes up. We then get an internal break of structure and push out. Nothing we can do. Okay. Not going to trade in here. Like I said, we can't sell. There's no, you don't sell off external 4 hour takes. Cool. Major inducement into the mitigation of supply area. There's nothing we can do yet. Okay. It's then pushed into this area. Major inducement, mitigation of area, medium inducement or major inducement into that area. We then had our first structure break. For us to sell, we then need to take 15-minute structure that is valid in our first leg. Okay. Now, this will help you, Cow. Basically, you've got to ask yourself, medium inducement wise, what does this hold? Not a lot. It is retest of a break, so it is a medium inducement, but it didn't lead to a break of structure. Okay. So it is valid to look for. Because it's just valid to look for a trade, your confirmations still need to be sound. Okay. So obviously price pushed down. I'll show you why I didn't take it. So yes, medium inducement was very valid. Okay, we haven't reached demand yet. We haven't even filled the imbalance for that demand yet, and we've started that complex pullback to the downside. We had medium inducement, which then led to structure build, which was perfect. You then had an internal break. I then need better proof that this is a smart money point. Okay, because this medium inducement holds weight but doesn't hold break of structure weight, given how bullish we are, I don't want to take a trade that's too close to this external low. I need to be able to go break even and I need it to pull up and mitigate something. I need an inducement that mitigates in here. Okay, so that's realistically my top area. This is a small pullback and can also be viewed as inducement into mitigation this way. So what I either needed to see was a two leg that did this and then broke internal and gave me that, where I can go break even in internal structure and then I have external structure. Or what I need to see is external break, second inducement, and then I'm happy to trade in this leg. Okay? Because the medium inducement holds weight, but it's just retest. And at the same time, EU hadn't taken that high. It doesn't end up taking the high, but the two together I wasn't convinced. It wasn't enough. It's valid, but it's risky. And that's kind of the problem with this is if you're going to take a complex pullback trade, you need to be sure. This was, I would say, a little bit of a FOMO trade, really good checklist in terms of taking the trade because you've obviously got that smart money reaction, quick reaction, but you've already taken liquidity here. I now need a better inducement. I need to be protected by something, and I'm not. Okay. Plus, if it takes this low, there's a high chance you get break even anyway because it's a complex pullback. So I need room in here. There's just not enough. All right. We then had minor inducement that leads to that medium inducement, a supply that broke through a 15-minute low that actually stayed inside inducement supply. So I've got inducement supply, liquidity. So I've got initial targets, which is good for a complex pullback. I've got a medium inducement, which is great, which took a point that actually did something. Not just a medium inducement, but a valid point. Holds a little bit more. I've also got EU sitting in that point and giving an entry as well. In terms of the entry of this, if you trade two confirmation entries, I think this is valid as well. I would struggle not to trade this even if I wasn't reading inducements. Simple break, retest, push, break, pull down, second break. So you've got one break, pull up, second break. So for me, I've got, not only have I got my inducement, I've then got my second inducement. I've got two confirmations after a medium inducement. So I set that. Okay. It didn't tag me in, made a trade of fun. So once it pulled down again and didn't break through this low, I set that. Okay. Until it broke that low, I was happy to get in it because I'm not going to trade after a third break. I think you're crazy to do that. Okay. So once it did that,
Brad,
yes.
would you consider that more like 15-second or 30-second
No,
structure?
minute structure.
Because it's just like one candle. I just read that difficult to be
I don't even
on
have
there,
fun. Yeah, I didn't even go down to 30 second rule. I view that as minute structure. Given context,
given
quite happy
context,
to.
sure.
If you're going to trade quick structure like that, you've just got to go break even quicker. So I was break
Yeah.
even the moment it took this low. The moment it made a
That
third
yeah,
break,
that
I'm break even.
cool.
So if you trade smaller structure, be more aggressive in how you manage it. You just got to accept it. Um, Given context, if it's going to treat this as a smart money trap anyway, it won't come back. It'll just go. Everything's filled here. There's no imbalance. There's no liquidity in this area. The next liquidity is this point here. Um, yeah. In terms of targets, should have just taken a one to fucking three. But given the medium inducement and the current thing, I targeted the lows like a fucking psycho. In trades like this from now on, I will be taking partials. So if I get a medium inducement, and my take profit to the next 15-minute low isn't between three and four and is above four, I will be taking partials at a one to three. Okay. That's just a rule I've added in because medium inducement should run longer. Um, and then I would have targeted to this point at a one to five. So I would secure 4% rather than 3%. Medium inducements are worth it, in my opinion. Okay.
With take profit on that one as well, Brad, like would it be valid to either take partials or close full when like because EU took the low,
Mm-hmm.
um, and
100%.
at around the same time, so EU's having a medium inducement in the other way, the other
Yep.
direction. So
100%.
if you can, if like you can't tell it's divergence yet because it hasn't played out, but
Yeah.
if you're going to get that divergence, this is
Mm-hmm.
where it's going to happen. So you could, if you're at one to three or whatever, it's like I might as well close because now the risk of the
Exactly right.
trade's
So the
gone way
data
up.
tells me that my average will be one to three. If I get one to three and at the exact same time EU medium induces, it's like, what's the fucking chance of this?
Yeah,
Like,
might as well close. Yeah,
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 exactly right. No, 110%. So that's just
okay,
something I've added in. I wasn't even watching my phone, so it is what it is. But um,
yeah.
poor management, I would say. Okay. And I think a lot of that poor management stemmed from the last one, which ran one to fucking 40. Okay, so that's where a lot of that came from. So just an emotional, I don't know, management of trade. But either or, I think it's a valid trade. I actually like this entry better than the EU one, but EU is valid. EU is a very, very difficult one if you can't read divergences properly. Um, Obviously, this is a quick entry, but I'm hoping that you guys are learning that if you get a medium inducement and you get something that proves your data confirmation wise, I don't understand why you don't take it. Realistically, how many trades was there on EU? Three break evens. Sorry, three break evens and half a loss. On GU, there's been break even, which was news, which was you guys won't take. One to five. Like there's 3 to 6 trades a week. This is probably number five. So statistically, what's the chances of there being a medium inducement, me being able to see confirmations and not taking it? That's just my view on it. If I don't hit my 3 to 6 trades a week, I'm doing something wrong. Because especially when there's so many medium inducements. So it's something just your data proves how many trades you should be taking. You just got to manage correctly, but you've got to be able to pull the trigger. So happy with
But
an
how do
entry
you
like that. But
feel?
yeah, what's
Is
that?
that Asia high? Because that's London session, right?
Yeah, it didn't take Asia highs.
But how do you feel trading out of Asia high? I
Don't care.
suppose once. you've already taken, that doesn't matter at all, or
No, context is more important. And
just
the
yeah,
context of what had been done. So we've induced into a mitigation of a demand to supply. I'm trading inducements and context and then entry models after. So inducement, which actually gave a really good inducement. I'm then trading the next inducement.
yeah. No, the context makes sense. I completely like I
Yep.
write off. Yeah, I ignore Asia low and high just completely. So it's good
Hmm.
to, unless it's the next day.
Yes, I won't trade the take of Asia lows or the take of Asia highs
Okay.
because that
Yeah.
is a strategy in itself. Whereas
Yeah, yeah,
people
of
aren't
course.
setting limits from the Asian lows, Asia highs as themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just a way to look at it.
Yeah, cool.
I think yeah, context is so important, and then obviously it gets taken.
All
Um,
right, quick question about Asia highs and lows. Are
yes.
you fussed if you're taking a trade below Asia high or above Asia low?
So I won't take. So if it's just taken the highs, I won't trade.
What if it's before it takes the high or low?
So it's so like here instead of here.
Yeah, so like say if you're taking a trade like out of here, just for example, and Asia high is there.
Yep. No, don't care.
Okay, so you don't
Okay.
view it as like a liquidity above your stop loss.
Yes. So context is everything. If I still need an inducement. So if I don't get if there's no medium inducement in this range, in this Asia session, I won't take a trade.
Yeah.
But you've got to find, and this is where you guys have probably heard, inducement of the day is normally a medium inducement. We're trading a 15-minute structure. So I haven't had a medium inducement for the day. If I get an inducement that's inside a current possible bearish range, it's more than likely inducement that's going to move the session. So I'm trading the inducement rather than the idea of where I'm placed in price. The inducement is key. Um, and way to kind of force yourself into that is every time you get a 15-minute break, mark out the points that broke structure every time you do it. So a medium inducement for me is retest, which we all know. So retest, valid supply and demand points, or 15-minute highs and lows outside of Asia range externally. So if you have low here and there's a 15-minute structure point here, whether this is anything, if it's just a 15-minute retest point, this holds more weight because it's outside of here. And it all comes to do with what's been taken. So Asia low's been taken. I've now taken the next limit of people that are going to set and take that. So you're taking out more liquidity. It's all who's induced and who's taken out. I'm more actually focused on who's induced rather than who's taken out. I want to know who's in the market now. And medium inducements, people follow medium inducements a lot more. So it's kind of where that comes from. So quite happy to trade inside the ranges, but I need medium inducements. Um, Hopefully that makes sense. So then coming into this session here, obviously have broken structure now. This is now a medium inducement because it broke through a 15-minute high. Not only did it break through a 15-minute high, you had push, pull back, push. So you've got two. So it is a medium inducement through and through. And we'll kind of see if there's a trade. I wasn't even watching GU, but we'll have a look. Minor inducement, which is clear. So really good push up, minor inducement. So medium inducement, minor inducement into the mitigation of this area. Really good. Break of structure, pull back, break of structure. Nothing in here for me. This is the supply area I'm looking to see if there's a smart money trap. It hasn't proven it to me. You did have this very, very, very small take of liquidity here. This isn't enough for me. Okay. The reason I took EU because GU did this at the same time EU induced. Okay. That's not enough for me. And it hadn't mitigated past the area of imbalance. So it's too sketchy. If this had happened off of this, I would be open to it because it's a form of inducement. Just it's a bit sketchy given the placement. So proven to be a smart money trap. External liquidity taken. Can't do anything now. My inducement low is here. My inducement high is here. Can't do anything. Okay. One, two. That's my medium inducement. So I'm trading away from that until it tells me that I'm not. I've had my minor inducement or my minor inducement in timing. I'm now in that area of demand. I can either trade off the internal break of that, and then that's my break even, or I can look for this to be proven to be a smart money trap and induce in here. Inducement, no break, push down again, still in this area of demand. Break. This is now a valid limit. It is valid. It's trading away from inducement. So inducement, protected inducement, inducement, complex pullback, impulse, medium inducement, mitigation, current structure, proving to be a weak high. That's an entry you can look at taking. You can either set that or that. Say for this sake, we set this one. I don't know what happens here. I was already in EU. Given the structure build up, you'd be targeting the daily cycle as a minimum or that high. I said I don't know what happens here, so we may get fucked. Break even, obviously. So with an area like this, there's lots of 50-50 here. So is this a smart money trap? We don't fucking know. Okay. That's really, really good bearish structure. Mitigation, inducement, push. So I need to now know if this is a smart money trap. Okay. Didn't show it. It didn't give us the entry confirmations. If you were going to take this entry, this is an aggressive entry, expecting that it is, given the current structure and what's happening, away from a medium inducement with momentum. So this is more likely to happen based on the current movement, but is a riskier entry, obviously, because you're not sure. Okay. If you would set that entry there, I don't know if this goes 1 to 3, you'd be break even anyway, because obviously we've taken the area of proven smart money trap. That's probably the end of the week, maybe, or my internet just shit itself. Fuck me. Back again.
You're back.
Fucking internet, motherfucker. This is my
Pain in the
life,
ass.
man. This is my life.
This,
Um,
the stress of entering a limit with this internet
this is what happens. This is what happens.
would send me off.
Yeah.
Fucking pissing me
Oh,
off.
It's just clicking his fucking meta
I just want my
traders.
stop loss in. I just want my stop loss
Literally,
in.
it's fucked. Yeah, so this was a valid limit, obviously a lot riskier. I don't know where it goes from here. You catch a break even anyway. But structure cycle return to area, and then kind of that's the end of the week. So valid entries and shit there. It's just you catch a break even. But this is just really good structure in terms of inducement. Inducement. This is a decisional that broke the high. Complex pullback, liquidity, push up, complex pullback, inducement into mitigation, push up, take a liquidity. Like it's really, really good structure cycle. It just causes break evens. So nothing we can really do with that. Yeah. So let's mark out kind of what we've got. So looking back at the week, I would say nothing in here. Shit area to look. Valid area, just no entry. So what I'll do, valid area, no entry, and we're not surprised that there's no entry, given that it's the other opposite side of structure cycle. So not surprised, but valid area to look. In here, you're expecting buyers. Where's the open? Here. So valid area, just no entry. Again. Okay. Valid area. Medium inducement somewhat here. So that's the demand that broke through that high. Medium inducement, mitigation, no entry. New demand, come down, come structure. Nothing in here, obviously, come New York. You would be looking to take the same trade. That is one I did take. So what I'll do is I'm going to say that is a valid area and a valid trade because I took a break even. Okay. So this is what you guys should start to see. This looks really shit, but there's valid entries here. They're just break evens. This is the biggest A plus entry of the last fucking month. okay, which runs structure cycle wires to the highs. You then got this entry here, which is valid. There's just no entry. Okay. Push up, nothing, nothing, nothing. You then got this area here. Valid area. No entry. Then you've obviously got that other one off of the back of this medium inducement here, which runs 1 to 3. So GU is very clean. So you basically got what, 2, 4, 7 valid areas with 3 trades. And you guys wouldn't take this because of new, so 2 trades. One that runs basically 1 to 8 to the highs, which you can hold, or 1 to 5 as a full take profit. And then you've got this one, which is a 1 to 3, where you probably skew partials or just take the full. Or even that as a break even with that win is fine. So great week. So what's that? 2 valid entries on that. EU had no wins other than Matt's fucking psycho one. And then that one was a break even there. So realistically, what is that? 3. There's probably 4 or 5 entries that were valid. Probably 4 entries. One in which you hold to a full take profit of some sort. This GU one was definitely a lot harder given timing, but context, you've got to look in the right spots. Okay. Now it's obviously a lot easier. Something you guys need to get really good at is looking at structure from the outside on the 15-minute after the week plays out and seeing what that looks like while you're in the midst of this shit. Okay. Because these areas are very, very important. Okay. Any questions at all on any of that, or are we all good to go? Wait, Maui.